I'm Bill,
I'm Chase.
and this is Wildcat Chat, the home of all things Kentucky basketball. All right, Chase, we finally did it. We made it here. We've been talking about doing this for some time now. Two huge UK fans looking forward to chatting Kentucky basketball week in and week out. Obviously, an exciting time for Kentucky fans.
Very.
So let's start here with people that are watching. Why Wildcat Chat? Why are we doing this? And maybe give me a little bit of background on you as a UK fan, then I'll jump into mine.
Me to start. I'm honored. I grew up in a household of red. I'm from Cincinnati. I'm from the west side, best side. UC all the way. A lot of Ohio State. Basically anything Ohio. Growing up, it was all UC. And I'm talking 7, 8 years old. My parents were like, we're going to go see a basketball game. Took my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, to I think the Shoemaker Center, way back in the day. Bob Huggins, UC basketball.
Oh, Bob.
And we are a churched family. I was taught not to curse. My dad's an English teacher. And the words we were hearing, we had to leave by halftime. So as a 7 or 8 year old kid, I equated UC basketball with naughty, bad words.
Surprised
shame.
you lasted till halftime. That's surprising.
But so our new pastor at our church was from Kentucky, and this was summer of '98, and he just brought about this whole other mindset to me when he talked about this team that was blue and they won. And they didn't have naughty words, because I was like, if the pastor likes the team, I mean, that has to show for something, right? So, and I blue was my favorite color anyway, so I was like, I'm going to start liking this team. That's how it started. So I went into it on the high of a championship, but had not seen a championship myself until 2012. So
when would you say, what year and time would you circle as, hey, this is when I became a Kentucky fan?
Tayshaun Prince. So like we're talking
the GOAT.
He probably was his junior year, maybe 99 into 2000, but Saul Smith off the bench. Keith
Saul. Can't do Saul. Anyway.
Keith Bogans, like that time.
Gerald
Fitch.
Chuck Hayes.
Yes.
Shall we go?
Hayes. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was that time, and I've been Tubby years up until now.
Yeah, I have an interesting journey on my side. So I was born in Florida, and so I have not been a Florida fan, but lived in Florida until I was about 5. My brother was living in Kentucky. We kind of swapped. We had a parent divorce, and I got pushed to North Kentucky, and my brother went south with my dad. He grew up the Florida fan. I grew up the Kentucky fan. But I was born in Florida. He was born in Kentucky. So we have this like family turmoil, if you will. Inside, we're always rooting against each other, and it's fun. It's casual. He enjoys it. He's been to some UK games with me. But so I've been a fan since ever since I can remember. Really, the '96 team is kind of when it got started for me. I was 14 and started to really understand what UK basketball was. I mean, Pitino's last couple years there, '96, '97, it was just electric. Anthony Epps, Wayne Turner, those are the guys that stuck. I played basketball in my elementary, middle school, high school days. So I wanted to be Wayne Turner. I wanted to be Anthony Epps, all those guys. So that's really kind of how I got started, and obviously been a fan. So another funny thing about me, a lot of people don't know, is I was actually a UK student for 3 days.
3 days.
So graduated. My best friend and I, we enrolled at UK. Grew up living in North Kentucky, and we enrolled at UK. He was going to be my roommate, and he got cold feet like a week before school started. And he called me, and he's like, my buddy Dan, and he's like, hey, who by the way is another huge UK fan. He'll be somebody I call for advice and tips on stats. He's a stat man. Maybe we'll have to bring him on one time. He might know a little bit more about UK than me. Like, he's incredible.
The Billy Bean of UK basketball.
But he called me and he's like, hey, having second thoughts. I'm going to enroll at NKU. And so I was like, well, not going to know anybody going to Kentucky. I think I'm going to drop out as well. So I still have a UK card saying that I'm a student, but I never went there, which is funny. So it's just interesting. I think people that are listening that you're not a UK alumni. I'm not a UK alumni, but we're diehard UK fans. I live in Northern Kentucky, which is, almost 2 hours from Lexington. You live in Cincinnati, which is even farther than that. But Big Blue Nation it really transcends nationwide. We're just one of those passionate fan bases that they're just there's no boundaries, if you will. So obviously the big news this year, Pope is the new man in charge. John Calipari is gone. I'd like to ask you to start with, what's your thoughts on Calipari? The good, the bad, the ugly.
I will start there by asking you just a quick question that relates to what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Starting in '96, so you knew Pope as a player.
Yep.
And you knew Patino as a coach.
Yep.
Did you see him as a villain post tenure at UK?
Patino?
Yes.
I never did.
Okay.
I think I would have done what he did. I would have left for the NBA because he won it in '96. He should have won it in '97. Miles Simon was ineligible. Check it. Even though it's not on the rule book. I have
no idea what
just
that
like
means.
Louisville's banner from 2014. It's still up. I don't know how. But anyway. He won it in '96. He basically won it in '97. What's left, right? Mm-hmm. So he went to the NBA, chased the money. I get it. Didn't love that he went to Louisville, but I think that kind of showed his passion for the Kentucky fan base.
Okay.
And now, obviously, with Pope, he loves Pope, and he's supporting, which is weird to me. Like, he's a coach for a different program. I don't even know where he's at, St. John's?
St. John's, I
think,
yeah.
He, actively is like, hey, big win by Kentucky last night, which is kind of strange. Yeah. But what do you think?
I asked about that because it's like a full circle. Yeah. And so if I came into it late '98, early '99, he's always been a villain to me. He was that guy, the guy you boo because he left.
Yeah.
And knowing that, time heals all wounds type thing, you're seeing that he was at Big Blue Madness. Yeah. People were giving him a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I think about that in terms of if we, when that Arkansas game comes, like, how is the reception going to be towards Calipari? How long is the time going to pass?
Yeah.
Because he went straight from college to another college team in the same conference.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And
I think that shows Calipari. The difference between Patino and Pope understand that really UK basketball is more than one person. Mm-hmm. I think they both understand that, and I don't think John Calipari ever really understood that. I think John thought they came for him when they never did. They played for the name on the front, not the back. And Calipari wanted them to play for the name on the back.
I get that. So. And to answer your question, he is the coach of the only championship I've ever seen. So there's the swagger that he brought. Because I would have been a senior in college his first year in '09. My dream was to be the white guy off the bench. I played ball. I loved basketball. I played a little college.
Cigar, if you will. Do you know what that means?
What?
Why they call that guy the cigar? Do you know that?
No.
Steve Masiello, for any of those. He was known as the cigar. Basically, when the game's out of reach, you're up 40, crack out the cigars, put him in. Yep. Let's roll.
That was
that would be
that was the absolute dream.
You try to shoot a three, and
my parents had one rule, and it was no out of state tuition. So I was just like I went to UC repping as much blue as possible, just because so I was like, maybe I try to go there, but I
like the Bloods and Crip thing. Or, I don't know who's who. Just for the record, just say.
Oh, I think blues is. I'm
not sure. I mean, I feel like it should be the Crips, Blood, Red.
That does make sense.
Anyway, we'll stop bashing UC. Keep going.
But I played some at a Christian college. I was right up the road from UC, and I was like, I could easily be. And it was during the Gillespie years, so I was like, I could probably walk onto that team and at least do something. And it was so depressing.
Well, I think we needed you. We needed you.
It was so depressing, and so by that year, it was 9, bringing John Wall, bringing that swagger, having 5 guys go in the first round of the draft. Like, there was just so much hype. In Cincinnati, like, I had a hope that UK was on the WB64 channel, which turned into the CW. I'm
Star
sure.
64.
Star 64. Yeah. That was where they showed the local broadcasts of the games during like the Tubby years and stuff. But every game's now on ESPN or ESPN College, like the SEC network becomes a thing during this tenure. That level of visibility and swagger was awesome until the team seemed to not be able to back up the swagger. Yeah. Like there's that one clip that everyone kept repeatedly showing. He just goes, "We're gonna go into your town and we're gonna beat your team." And it's like, but then you, I love it. Then you didn't. When you were beating the team, it was awesome. Yeah. And I have a level of, I defend him, I would say, a lot more than most people. Yeah. I know that he was playing in the parameters of this one and done rule that he didn't create. And it is very frustrating as a fan to have to relearn names every single year. Yeah. But his concept is like, they should just be able to go to the NBA anyways. Yeah. And we should be able to have collegiate players. I think he said he wanted a minimum of 2 years that you had to stay. And he actually fought for that and he never got it. So
he's basically playing by the rules that they have. And he did it better than anybody for a long time.
For a while. And I feel that he did not, I would say he did not evolve with this transfer portal time frame as well as other coaches have done it. He stuck to his, like, we're going to rock it with maybe 1 or 2 out of the portal, but we're going to recruit hard for these guys that I would say maybe 3 times in that tenure would have eligibility issues and would never play anyways. Yeah. So it's just like,
we had that multiple times. Yep. Absolutely.
Free Enos from
Enos Cantor. What year was that?
2011,
Was that that was the Brandon Knight? Yes. Where we beat Ohio State. Sorry, Ohio State fans listening as well. We beat you guys there.
I was in Florida during that game and on vacation and staying with my grandparents, and they had to they were asleep and I had to keep it down, but I was running out in the street just losing my mind. It was so awesome.
That shot by Brandon Knight was great.
Jorts. The Jorts, Cumberland, wasn't he? Was that it?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting with Calipari. I mean, the one thing I will always say about Calipari is he loved his guys. He was always to bat for his players, which I love that, but sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
And the other big thing I always say about Calipari is great recruiter, terrible in-game coach.
And I'm starting to see in this Pope era, just after 7 games. Some coaches do understand like. Yes. How to take a timeout with 30 seconds left and not leave.
Thank you. Yes.
He knows how.
Just let him play, yes, John would say.
He knows how to. We've not seen a loss yet, but I'm sure he would know how to take responsibility in the post-game presser and not have it just be like, "Oh, I feel sick for our guys." Like it was just always the same.
Give us some substance.
If we're local here, if you've ever seen a Bengals post-game press conference, it's the Zach Taylor.
I believe in my guys. We got to get better for next week.
It's the same script.
Yeah, we know, Zach.
Yes.
Give us a breakdown. Yes. We got it.
Yeah. So
it's funny. I have some jokes with some friends of mine who are big UK fans, and it's always Calipari. When times got tough, he would just stand on the sidelines and scream, "Go!" Like that's the play. Just scream at your players and point at them and just scream, "Go!" Like how about you call a timeout and draw up a play? Like how about an inbounds play for once? Yep. How about a full court press? Why don't we do that? You see all that stuff Pope's doing now. Yeah. It really, to me, the epiphany moment with Pope was that Duke game, which we'll obviously get into in a little bit. But I don't know if you saw any of the excerpts, but he basically in that timeout told his team, "Hey, look, Cooper Flagg, who was Duke's stud, going to be a great player. He's going to do this. If he does this, we're going to do this." And good luck, obviously. A lot of things can change, but it literally happened. And Owe grabbed the ball and took it down and scored. That to me is like, that's coaching. You need to tell your guys, look out for this, not just rely just on your talent.
And I do defend him in some aspects, Calipari, when I know that he has told players this, and it's just either for some odd reason. And again, does that come back to your coaching ability that they aren't able to do what you tell them to do? But I think of the last game.
Yeah.
And our mutual friend, Jess, we had a very heated debate afterwards on should he leave. And in the moment, why I defended Calipari was, how do you blame him for the stage fright that your 2 freshman studs had? At least Dillingham still at least did some stuff, but you have Reed Shepherd, 6th man, like player of the year,
who didn't start.
Yeah, whose
fault's that?
Yeah, well,
okay. And Rob Dillingham, who also Didn't
All right,
start.
so your sixth men of the
Top
year.
5 draft
Yes.
picks. Makes no sense. Go on.
Yeah, okay. I get that, but you have the best passer, most efficient shooter. Actually, Brea was technically the most efficient 3-point shooter, but just off the bench, a stud. He looked scared in that game, and
They're 18, 19-year-old kids.
and that's
the problem.
That's also the concept of if you have to do one and dones over and over, you're not getting one and dones who are 22.
And I think that 2012 team really kind of protected that play because he had so. I mean, Anthony Davis was just that.
Oh yeah,
that he's still a stud. I mean, he's
you will never get that level of talent because you had a point guard that grew 11 inches his senior year of high school, basically.
Maybe ever.
So you have a guy that basically is a center that has, which nowadays that's all the NBA. Everyone out of Europe is some 6'11", 7'2" guy that can shoot threes. Exactly.
But Darius Miller was a glue guy on that team, and he was a senior.
Right. Yes. So. Kentucky. What do they call the Kentucky high school player of the year?
Mr.
Kentucky.
Mr. Kentucky. Yeah. Darius Miller was Mr. Kentucky. Yep.
I think Terrence Jones staying another year helped that team as well. So it's always when you have these studs that choose another year. Like we thought the Twins were going to be there all 4 years. They should have gone all the way. Yeah. I still have PTSD in that Final Four game against Wisconsin. The fact that it was a goaltending that wasn't called, so much so that at the beginning of the next season, they made that a rule that they can review it. And it's just like, of course. That has happened 2 or 3 times in that Calipari era where they got screwed so bad that they had to initiate a rule change the next year.
That's a great segue because I think that 2015 season with them losing Wisconsin 38-0, I think that broke Calipari. I think that was kind of the writing on the wall. I know COVID kind of changed things a little bit. He kind of limped for a couple more years, but I mean, you think about it, 2010 with Wall, Cousins, Bledsoe, amazing team. 2011 was a rebuild, and they still went to the Final Four.
And 2014 was a rebuild, and they went to the final game.
Correct. Yeah, and then 2015, they all said, hey, let's come back and let's go win this thing. 38-0, and then for whatever reason, Wisconsin, we just couldn't get it done. And I think that broke Cal. I really do. And I think he kind of realized then, he probably won't ever admit it, he just can't in-game coach. He just can't. He gets out-coached by these guys all the time. Arkansas's already seen it. They've already got a couple losses on the year, and at the time I was excited for Cal because we had Billy Gillespie, who was absolutely dog water, for lack of better terms, just the worst coach of all time. And I didn't want Cal. I wanted Mark Few, which is funny. We're playing him this week. That's who I wanted. I like Jay Wright at Villanova. Those are the 2 guys that I wanted. And then they went with Cal, which Cal's always been a salesman to me, and I saw that. But I got excited, right? 2012 championship, 2015 right there. But it was time. So I was out in Vegas for the first time ever in the spring of last year for the March Madness. I'm a big Vegas guy. I love Vegas, and I'm literally out there for the first week. So for anybody who loves basketball, that's the best week of the whole year, right? So I'm literally in Vegas with millions of other people watching UK basketball. And the first night we lose, we get upset, and it's like, I really am done with Cal. Like, I'm done because this is not fair. I am a huge UK fan. I am in my peak position of life. I'm out here in Vegas, ready to have fun, and I just want to go to my room and cry because we suck. So that was when I was like, we're ready for a change. So Mark Pope comes, and obviously the story is itself. But when Cal was announced as leaving, who did you want, and then how did you feel about Pope initially?
So I know nothing about him. That like I knew a little bit about the '98 team. Like I would always watch. My best friend, his family is just rooted in UK basketball. Like they have like Cal's like Maker's Marks like on a wall. Like just like they have, but they have a lot of stuff in their basement where we would watch all these games from those '90s teams, and it's just like a lot of Scott Pageant. Like there's just a lot of, but Pope I think was because it was '96 just wasn't not. So I had no history with him, and reading like Kentucky sports Twitter or just hearing the vibes on social media, that was not the pick a lot of people wanted. I know that they were trying really hard for what's the Hurley brother from UConn?
Oh yeah, Dan Hurley.
Dan Hurley.
Yeah, he was a sexy pick.
Yeah, and
he had
then
just won the championship.
Drew from Baylor.
Scott
I was
Drew.
like, he's very good. He's a very good coach.
Yeah.
And those were guys that I at least knew
Yeah.
would be good. And then they had the whole thing where like he was at, I don't know, it wasn't a Denny's, but it was like a restaurant in Texas.
That's what we do as Kentucky fans.
Yeah, like,
look, we're gonna track the airplane and see where it's at. It's hilarious how it works. We're crazy.
So when Pope was announced, I don't think it was until I think it was that press conference the next day or 2 days later
when he got bussed in with the team.
He sold me.
Yeah, he killed it.
1,000%.
Yeah, he's bringing back the Kentucky basketball aura, right? And for him to bring his '96 team off the bus with him, for Pitino to support him, I think that shows a lot about Mark. I was kind of the same way. I knew we needed a change. Obviously, I said that, but Pope wasn't my first choice. It wasn't the sexiest choice. But now, obviously, looking back, even if we lose the rest of the games, I think he's our guy because he has that passion that I was been wanting for such a long time. I think Tubby had that. Obviously, Pitino had that. Pitino was the last one that truly had it. Tubby had his own. We didn't talk. We'll do a Tubby segment because I love Tubby too for a long time. Tubby brought a lot of my favorite players. Eric Daniels. I mean, there's a lot of guys that
the lefty sensation. Yes, I did love Eric Daniels.
A lot of guys that were good. Jules Kamara, Rashad Kerr. I could just go on and on, right? But yeah, it's exciting. Pope he's got a lot of energy right now. Obviously, we hope it stays and it's long standing. But I did watch a little bit of his BYU team last year because I thought we were going to win it all. I mean, I thought Wagner is going to turn on at some point. He's such a unbelievable recruit that at some point he's just going to take over, and it just never happened. So I would watch basketball like crazy, and I kept watching BYU's team. They were on late at night, so 10, 11 o'clock at night, and they were fun to watch. So that was one thing where I was like, okay, this could be fun at least.
I watched I graduating from UC. I have a lot of friends who are UC fans. I don't dislike UC basketball. Yeah. I will root for them, especially now that they're in the Big 12. Right. Because they play Kansas twice.
Yes.
Destroy them. But except when they play UK. And in my lifetime, I think they've played twice. And they've won both times. So that's nice. But I watched UC beat BYU. And I do remember watching bits and pieces. And I just loved what I'm seeing now is that the speed of that offense. Where like,
go.
Things that when I played high school basketball, my coach would legitimately in high school. That's a dumb example. It had to have been in college because there's no shot clock in high school basketball. But there wasn't in college. Everything that my coach would have told me is dumb. You run your offense through most of that shot clock. Poe is just like, we'll be lucky if we get down to half of this shot clock because we're going to get up there and we're just going to let it fly. It's such a different mindset and a different vibe. Yeah. And I love it.
That's why they're first in the league in scoring. They've scored 100 points, 5 out of the 8 games they've played. It's crazy.
And it's such a breath of fresh air as opposed to Calipari's like, let's just run motion until we see something that's open. And we're going to have guards that are going to do really well driving.
One-on-one ball, triple drive.
But can't make layups, and it's going to drive Chase insane on his couch.
And can't make free throws.
Drive
to the lane, get fouled, and not to make free throws.
That I think will be the enduring legacy of Calipari's tenure of just
can't make free throws.
Well, I mean, it happened at Memphis too.
Yeah, his last year there when they missed free throws. So I want to jump into the players because I know we have a lot to talk about there. There's a lot of new faces. The entire roster has been...
Yeah.
Right. The whole team.
I feel I have no relationship to any of these guys yet.
But we're getting there quick. But I did just want to, because something that I think a lot of UK fans aren't giving Pope the praise on right now is his coaching staff. I don't know how much you know about it, but he put together a hell of a coaching staff. So just real quick. So obviously Pope was with BYU, Utah Valley. Alvin Brooks is associate coach. So his right-hand man. He spent 8 years under Drew at Baylor. Okay. So Baylor won a championship. So he was Drew's right-hand man. A lot of Kentucky fans that said, hey, we're going to go get Drew. Pope went and got Drew's best guy. So to me, that's hilarious. He does a lot of this stuff. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but Calipari, John Robick. Remember John Robick?
No.
He was his main guy for 2010, 29 through 2014. Somebody fact check me.
So before Payne?
Yes.
Okay.
And to me, Robick was the glue guy.
Okay.
And quiet behind the scenes, older guy, but did a great job. This is Brooks to me. Nobody knows who Brooks is, but he is running. You'll watch him next game now that I called him out. You'll see he's talking to the guys one-on-one, like, hey, you did this wrong, do that. Or Pope's kind of coaching the entire team. So it's got him. He pulled in Mark Fox, been around for a while. So he used to be Georgia's head coach.
Yes, I remember.
Tubby's boy, his other boy, not Saul. Drawing a blank on Tubby's other boy's name. We'll figure it out. We'll have to insert that in there. I can't believe he was way better than Saul. But anyway, we'll talk about Saul. Couldn't stand Saul. He's got Mark Fox, and then he's got Cody Fueger, who was his assistant at BYU.
Okay.
Cody's the one with swag. He's the one that did the booms. So
yes, I remember his tweets. Every time they'd get somebody, he would
love his. Yeah, and then he's got Jason Hart too. So Jason Hart was a G League coach last year, so he has all these connections like Cal did with all the people that matter in the NBA. So that's another piece that Pope understands is I got to have this piece to get these players to come here because they want to go to the NBA. Jason Hart's that guy. So just wanted to call that out. Pope it's not just Mark Pope. He's got 4 or 5 dudes.
They've heard enough of his press conferences that I made a Billy Bean joke. Like there is a Moneyball aspect that the stats they use in terms of like he went on not a tangent, but just like hey, let's go some inside baseball and like when should these players take timeouts based on their how long they've been in, their height, their weight. They're going into some really interesting, like super metadata to get the most efficiency out of the team.
Love that. Very analytical. Yeah. His press conference after the Georgia State game on Friday, one of the first things somebody said was, hey, why was Creesa shooting all those threes late in the game? What was going on there? And immediately Pope was like, did you know he was plus 16? And the guy was like, what are you talking about? He's like, every time he was on the court, he's like, he had a plus 16 effort. I'm like, how do you know that so quick? The game just ended.
Yep.
You've already got that data that when he was on the court, we were up 16 compared to other players. Like, that's the stuff that they're analyzing. It's great. That's stuff John Calipari never would have done.
Oh, yeah. I just think you look at him, he just looks like the guy that never like learned how to change an input on a TV. He just seems like that guy that he just needs. He's like, I need you to change the thing. Just
the thing. The thing.
Whereas Pope just looks like he's the guy that has all the iPads. Like
100%.
He's younger, and that does help.
It's reinvigorating.
It's a change of pace, change of generation, basically. Yeah.
And then we beat Duke, right? So now we're like all excited because I don't remember if Calipari ever beat Duke. I feel like
he did, but it
remind me.
It did not happen often in that Champions Classic, that like game 2 or game 3. Because like the last time I remember, that was the Zion Williamson year, and we had a lot of chirping before we got humbled real quick, and that was a very, very brutal game to watch.
Yeah. Let's talk about this roster, Chase, because one complaint about Calipari was, I can't get used to the players. They're in, they're out. Well, guess what? You don't know anybody on this team, right? So
I have no.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on just some of the overview of these guys and what your initial thoughts were.
Yeah, so that whole like slew of a week to a week and a half of all these transfers, and it was just a lot of like, oh, okay, because bring was it Robinson from BYU, which was nice. I heard about Brea's 3-point efficiency the year before, so I was like, that's cool because
we need.
I think UK. There's got to be. Who was the guy just 2 or 3 years ago? Great grad transfer.
Grady. Kellen Grady.
Yeah. Great threes, but he had like plantar fasciitis or like something, and he tried to play through it, but just like he was unable to make shots.
Him and then Antonio Reeves, the last couple of years, who were great all year on 3-point in the tournament. They were like, I had to pull up a stat. Reeves, it's like 2 for 30.
At least last year, Reeves actually played well. Yeah, he got his revenge. But yes, 2 years ago.
And Brea's not scared to shoot it. Yes, he'll pull up from anywhere, which I love.
I love Creesa's Creesa's just
moxie.
Yes,
swagger.
All I heard about when they got him was that he played in some tournament or something in Europe, and he basically chirped all game long to Luka Doncic, who is like one of the greatest of all time. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna like this guy.
He's one of the guys that I would say you love him on your team and you absolutely hate to play against him. Yeah, because he just has that. To me, he's like the 2024 Wojciechowski. You remember Steve Woj from Duke, slapping the floor, getting in your face, clapping on you. That's Creesa. I love his energy. It's great.
But before the season, that was really it. I knew nothing. And then going into the season, through these first 7 games, Owe is easily my favorite so far.
Why?
Hustle. I love a guy that can drive and actually make a basket. I love a guy that is not afraid to initiate contact, get contact, but still he can make his foul shots. Yeah. He's got a little, not swagger, but it's just like it almost looks like
confidence.
A dance. Yeah, but it almost it almost looks like a dance when he's like dribbling. Like it just looks so fluid, and I love that.
Yeah.
He definitely impressed me during the Duke game, as did Carr. Just like your bigger guys, you got your Mario Williams and him. Like I'm always going to be like, hey, that's good. Yeah, I love your big guys. But if you got a guard or a power forward or just someone who can go to the rim and finish, and that is why, as much as he has tenure, as much as he has experience, as much as he's probably a captain on the team, Butler drives me absolutely nuts because he cannot make layups. He is that guy. He is the Marcus Teague of this team. And they won a championship, but Marcus Teague could not. I watched him that year. Me and a buddy got tickets to the Providence game because I was like, this is going to be a blowout. We're going to watch Davis and Kid Gilchrist go crazy.
Yeah, Gilchrist did nothing.
He shot 4, and I am not making this up or exact. He shot 4 left-handed layups, Marcus Teague, with his right hand, and missed all 4 of them. And they were only up 11 at that point or something because of that. And I'm just in the stands losing my mind because that is like, you learn that in grade school. You go off your inside foot and you go with the opposite hand. And Butler, as much as he gets to the line, I hope throughout this year he can impress me a little bit more with his finishing. Because
stay with him. I think he's going to. I think he's going to be. And I know. And he actually played pretty good in the Georgia State game.
And I know he got to the Final Four of San Diego State last year. So like I know he has the experience, and we need that. Yeah. I just like always finishing at this point better.
I think it's fair. The big guys down low. I mean, you got Carr. To me, Carr came out of nowhere. There was a lot of booms, right? A lot of people dropping on the team. For whatever reason, Carr kind of fell under the radar for me. I didn't really do a lot of research on him. I've been crazily impressed by this guy so far. He seems to me like he might be the most important guy on the team so far. So I'm very impressed with him. Amari Williams in the Georgia State game finally, I think, showed what he can be. I mean, when you look at this dude, he's just like a specimen, right? I mean, it's like this guy, you don't want to drive in the lane on him. He's going to – so I think he won 3 or 4 Defensive Player of the Year before he came here. So he's going to be a dude over at Drexel. Yeah, he's going to be a guy that's going to be a stud for us as the season goes. And then Brennan Garrison, who was hurt last week, I think he's another guy that – it's funny to me, Pope is using his big man like he was. Pope would – I don't have a lot of memories of Pope because he wasn't really the star on that 96 team. But I remember my memories of Pope was he'd get the ball, and if he wasn't shooting a 3, he'd be making a great pass. So he was like this point center. Now, you're kind of seeing this with these guys,
they initiate the offense up top with big men, which is very rare.
And you're pulling their big man out of the paint. So now you're allowing Owe to score.
Genius. And, I love it. And
so it's exciting.
Every time he shoots foul shots, it's a little scary. It's like a line drive of Williams is. But
so if you had to pick one guy that's going to be games on the line, Sweet 16, we're down 1, we need a shot. Who is that guy
now?
Right
it's
now?
Owe, 100%. And then if you want to dish it out to Brea for a 3, that's great. But I love that they can all shoot 3. I love that they are not afraid. Like how did we beat Duke? And Robinson did not make a basket.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I think it's going to be Robinson for me. I just think he's not there yet. I think he's still transitioning into this team in his role because he was the man for BYU. They went to him for every big play. Now there's like 8 men on this team. So I think Robinson will be the one.
And we just about a month ago, me and our mutual friend Jessica went and did like a card signing through Upper Deck with Garrison. And at that point, he had scored like when we got the news we were going to go do that with Upper Deck, he had like 2 points off the bench, and I was like, oh, it's going to be somebody. But then he had like a monster dunk, and he has continuously impressed me. And it was the game right after Duke. It might have been Duke's game. I don't remember. It wasn't Lipscomb. It might have been Duke. He came in and was amazing, and I texted her, and I was like, "Garrison's crushing." Then he played good in the Duke game. Then he fouled a 3-point shot, and I was like, oh, "Okay,
definitely the Duke game." I remember.
And I was like, "Oh, Garrison," but
it's funny. He's young. You know that, right? He's not he's only a sophomore, Most of these guys are either grad students or seniors that have transferred
Just
in.
listening to him talk, and just like he definitely is young, and his progression, just because now I've actually met him and spoken to him, I'm excited to see what his ceiling can be, because I know he's way more closer to the floor than he is the ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, we go 9-10 deep this year, which is exciting. I think that's what you need. And you got
there was just so many times, whether it was injury, so fingers crossed I don't get hurt, but so many times in these later Calipari years where it was like we had 2 guys off the bench. It was like, if we're in foul trouble,
it's over.
And it seems like there's a great rotation of guys if there happens to be foul trouble.
Yep. None of these guys are averaging crazy minutes.
Which is what I would say in this last week. Like we kind of noticed with Western Kentucky or somewhere, we actually saw adversity of guys that actually weren't making shots, of guys that were getting in foul trouble, because that game, it seemed like they blew a foul like 95 times in that Western Kentucky game. But just to show, because they got it down to like 6, and I think in both games this past week,
it was closer than it should have been.
Yes, and then all of a sudden you blink and it's up to 20 again, because he found the rotation, and I think it's like a chemistry set. I think Calipari thought of it more as a chemistry set. He would just be like, backdoor screen, he would do it, you're out, and then he would just mix so many players.
People too much, too quick. Let them fail, let them fall, let them get back up.
Like gives them a little more grace, and I think that helps.
These are kids. I mean, the oldest guys, 23, 20. I mean, they're still young, they're still learning. Let them make mistakes, and that's one thing I agree. Calipari definitely would pull too quick, but I think Calipari had some deals with certain kids that were like, "Hey, I'm playing you at all costs," right? The kid last year was he never really panned out. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but he had one game where he scored like 25 points.
It was the lefty. It was look him up real quick.
Yeah, he was somebody that he just rode all season long, and everybody was like, "Can you please pull this guy out? He's not good." And he would not pull him out. And I don't know. I just wish he would have pulled him out, because
my brain is saying Jeremy, but I think it's
Justin Edwards. Justin Edwards.
Yep.
He was this crazy number 1 player in the country. He never really showed it, but Calipari almost had like this behind the door, like, "Hey, you're going to play," and that's something that Pope's not going to do.
It got you to root for him, but because he did have a couple games where he did like explode.
He had like 2 of 30. Yeah. From a stat wise, that's not very good. But anyway. So last week, you had mentioned there was a little bit of adversity they overcame in this new season. So what's your takeaway from that? Like, how did that help the team? And then obviously we can jump into this week real quick and break it down.
No, I was thanks to Thanksgiving. I wasn't able to watch it fully. I wasn't expecting. I was just in my brain Tuesday, Saturday.
Right.
So when it popped up Friday, I was like, "What?" And I turned
Weird
it on.
Time too. 6:30.
And I'm literally helping my mother-in-law install a router and fix her desk. So I have it on my iPad while I'm like changing HDMI cords and stuff. So my focus wasn't entirely there, but enough that I saw a lot of teams they're facing that at some points they're making more threes than we are.
Yeah.
But it's I don't even know how to explain it. You see that and you're like, you're used to the Calipari, like, oh no, momentum shifting. Yeah. Can we just eke out? So last year,
those are games we lose.
One of the most electric offenses in the country. Yeah. They were always shootouts because their defense was so
just
atrocious.
Couldn't stop anybody.
Poor Dillingham.
Sounds like Cincinnati Bengals.
Poor Dillingham. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
This year's Cincinnati Bengals was last year's Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, it really was.
And it's
shootouts. That's a great. I never really thought about that.
It's exciting and stressful in terms of watching, because you just don't know if 108 is going to do it, which is crazy
Insane.
To say.
Yes.
But so on Friday's game against Georgia State, I was just like, this seems like it's going to be a shootout. We're used to getting in these 90s, 100s, and at the rate they're going, this might be 78, 72. Let's hope that we can get guys that can foul shots. And then I blink, and it was the ejection. It was the
that was
hitting
the
a marble. Yes, and all of a sudden they score 105.
What'd you think about Pope running out and grabbing one of their players? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
So Pope ran out on the court and grabbed one of their kids to pull them away. And to me, it was
one of Georgia State's players?
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it was interesting because you usually don't see that. But I think Pope's such a good dude that he didn't even think about like, oh, that's going to piss him off, right? It's just, hey, let me let me get in here
and try it.
But I think he's also like, I'm protecting my guys.
No, that's
I'm one of the
smart.
guys. So it was interesting for sure. But so you mentioned it was a close game. You know how much we won by?
Well,
we won by 30.
We almost by
How's that
29.
happen?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that is something in what, at least in this back half of the Calipari years, you just don't expect to happen.
Yeah. Calipari had a tough time putting teams away too. I felt like teams were always kind of in it. That one run there, boom, we win by 100. We win 105 to 76. I mean, it's just, to me, it's nuts that he can do that. I was looking at the stats because I thought it was interesting. 9 guys scored 9 points or more. So you talk about teamwork.
Yep.
There is no star on this team.
Yep.
It's just Kentucky basketball.
And it's just, I got used to that got a little swag last year because that offense was that efficient.
Right.
But then it's seeing always steals, Butler's like just picking pockets, great rebounding from point guards and centers. Just because like at towards the beginning of the second half, there was a lot of talk about like, oh wow, Georgia State's getting way more offensive rebounds than Kentucky, and it's just like, well, it's also because where they shoot in the shot clock, no one's down there yet, and sometimes, and most of the times, they're used to them making them anyway, so they don't have as many opportunities to get offensive rebound.
Makes sense.
So
much that goes into this game.
So
crazy.
It's one of those things where like you see that on a stat sheet and you're like, oh, they're out rebounding you, but it works with their flow, and if they can stay good on it's defense rebound. They need to make sure they win the glass on the other side, and so far,
and they are.
Just mechanics. I saw so many times, and it happened a little bit in this past week, where you have big guys and you're playing teams that aren't as big as you. You have a tendency to have 3 or 4 of your 5 guys all try to block one shot. Right. So there's just a guy that's going to get a rebound. You don't even need to jump, and it's just an easy layup because everyone else is up in the air over here.
Trust each other. Stay true to your player.
So the weak side help. It was gone last year.
Yeah.
Like just the idea of they could run a baseline, or the fact that the joke was like, oh no, it's our ball, but it went out of bounds. Calipari cannot draw an out of bounds play to save us or defend one.
Yeah.
Or defend
theirs. It's even worse at defending.
Oh my gosh. So it's just so nice knowing that like we have a coach that has that capacity.
100%. So let's get into this upcoming week. We got this is to me is going to be, obviously the Duke game was huge, right? We won by 5. I even was like, let's keep it within 10. That's kind of how I looked at Duke. I don't know how you felt about it. You feel the same? We're going to lose, but
we are going to lose. But I hope they keep it close, and I hope it keeps it like not like a
embarrassing or
what do they call
blowout,
it? Like slot points at the end. Like,
and honestly, it's been a couple weeks now, but there was a point in the game where I was like, oh, here we go. And then
I was like, we had a good run.
Halftime adjustments. That's what coaches do. He came out, he adjusted. So this is a huge week at Clemson, at Gonzaga, both on the road. Gonzaga, I think, is a neutral court, but it's like 2,000 miles from Lexington. So it's a Gonzaga home. So just for the people listening, I'm just going to break down who we have. So Clemson, they're 7-1. They've only lost to Boise State. They've played all cupcakes so far, but they finished in the Elite Eight last year. So they lost to Alabama. So they beat Baylor. They beat Arizona. They had a good team last year. They lost a couple of their guys, but they returned six year. Which how are these guys playing for 6 years?
I watched.
We probably have some.
For the Duke game. I turned on a little early to watch the end of Michigan State Kansas, and I saw Hunter Dickerson. I was like, how's this guy still
right?
This guy's got a full family.
He's the dirtiest play. He's got a full family. He's already working on his 401k retirement.
There was that
plan.
guy that Tom Izzo had with Michigan State. He was like almost 30. Like he was like 27
Mateen
years
Cleaves,
old.
it feels like. There was Ryan Cardinal was always my guy. He played for Purdue. I swear he was there for 14 years. I mean, he had lost all of his hair by the time he graduated. It was unbelievable. So I think I had more hair than Ryan Cardinal. It was just nuts. So they have this 6-year guy, Chase Hunter. He's their best player. He really fills it up. The funny thing is, do you know that Victor Locken, I think his name, or Lakin, from UC last year, now plays for Clemson? Big, tall Russian.
Okay. Probably I saw it because I'm in a group chat with a bunch of UK boys because
UC boys?
Oh, did I say UK? But UC boys would always give me crap about CJ Frederick coming over and doing absolutely nothing, just like he did at UK. But
that one hurts me, by the way, because he went to Covington Catholic High School where I did. So I've always been a Frederick supporter. I know he just gets hurt.
Uncle, like it's not his talent. It was just bad circumstances.
I love 3-point shooters. So Freddie's a great player, but
No, I did not. I'm sure I read it, but
Yeah, so he's over there. He's
Okay.
averaging like 12 a game. He's a 3-point
That's nice.
specialist as well. So they're pretty solid. They've got they're scoring 80 a game. So
It's gonna
I think
be
it's going to be
it's gonna be fun.
another.
I think it's gonna be more fun. I think this will be the third year they've done this, and we were not competitive in year one at all with that Calipari team. I think we still lost last year, but it was at least close.
So what's your prediction? We're going to beat Clemson, or are we going to lose?
No, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going this whole week.
The show goes on.
I think they made a mistake during this ACC SEC Classic that we didn't play North Carolina because we used to. Because I know like
why they stopped
growing
that?
up,
Was that your boy?
my boy. No. The big thing with Cal was he stopped the Indiana rivalry. And that people hated that.
You can only beat them so many times.
Growing up, I always
when's
expected,
it a rivalry if you just keep beating them?
Yeah.
Anyway,
growing up, it was always an Indiana game, always a North Carolina game, always a Louisville game, and now it's always a Duke. Well, always a Kansas game. Yeah. But except this year, this is the first year we're not playing Kansas in forever.
Probably good. Give us some time. Give us some time.
So I like this new blood of like we have this thing with Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I want him to win.
Yeah.
I want him to actually do well.
Yeah.
Because that is a coach that I feel like has outcoached Cal every time they play.
Mark Few's an incredible coach. Seems like a great guy too. I know he had some DUI issues or something, but he seems like a great guy. Seems like his guys play for him. One thing I'm worried about with, I think we're going to beat Clemson too, by the way. So I think we're going to win Clemson. Gonzaga scares me only because they have a similar roster as us. They have a lot of upperclassmen. They stretch the floor. They score a ton. They're scoring 90 a game, and they only give up 60.
And you have a lot of upperclassmen
yes.
that have played together multiple years. So that's the one thing with Pope's team is you hope they've gelled so much better than you thought they would this early.
Yep.
They just hope that they keep gelling.
Yep.
My one issue, and it's always this, and it always seemed to happen in the Calipari years, is Clemson's a trap game. Focus too much on Gonzaga.
100%.
You're not there. You're not there on the floor at Clemson. You just hope they do that. And they're both.
Yep.
They're both.
Funny.
And I hope I don't think the Clemson's going to be an issue. It's a late game, but it's East Coast.
Yeah.
That's what they're used to.
Yeah. Gonzaga all the way out
you're in 3 days.
They probably got finals around this time too, right? They probably have school finals. Maybe they're stressed.
So
a
10 p.m. game is only a 7 o'clock game here, but hopefully in 4 days that they adjust to that time. I think 4 days is enough time, but I know that always can be an issue where it's just like, I remember a big game. It was the 2011 North Carolina game. And because of time changes or how early they played compared to they used to, like Terrence Jones took a nap on the bus and he never like woke up
back.
And he talked about after the game that he was so lethargic because he was just like he made the mistake of napping. And you just hope that that's not an issue with such a time change.
Hopefully they're going out a day early and they can adjust, or maybe even 2 days early. I'm not sure. So I got a funny story. I was looking at the roster of Gonzaga and I see Ryan Nimhart and I'm like, I swear this guy's been on the team for like 8 years. So I started to dig into it. Well, his older brother, Andrew, was on the team that played in the championship game and lost.
Okay.
I was freaking out. I'm like, there is no way that Nimhart is still there. So his younger brother, Ryan, who he was playing at Creighton, transferred last year. So they never actually played together.
Okay.
Which is interesting. But I guess they went different ways. So they've got Nimhart. He's their floor leader. He averages, I think, 11 assists a game. So he's running the show. They've got this the senior Graham Ike, and they've got Khalif Battle, Nolan Hickman, Brandon Huff. They've got a solid 5-6 man rotation. It's going to play every bit of 30 minutes. They're all going to score double digits. Prediction: we're going to win. We're going to lose, and why? What do you think?
Well, I wanted to check it out. They don't have a game this week.
Oh wow! So they have a whole week
between. So
interesting.
I'm sure they're going to be rested and ready.
Trained,
but I think 7 days off can also be a detriment in terms of like not having
keeping the mojo going,
that in-game speed. Yeah. So I think Tuesday playing a team like Clemson at Clemson is going to help us. And in my opinion, I think that will. I gotta be optimistic.
We're gonna win.
I feel the Duke game has given me this like
invincibility status,
but it's definitely given me this optimism that I'm not going to be like, ooh, do we lose until we've lost, until they've shown me that they like, because they rose up to that challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a challenge of that caliber until Saturday.
So the swagger's
Yes,
back.
and
You're
yes.
saying the
They
2012
announced- yeah.
Calipari swagger's back.
And it's going to be a great test because as of today, they scheduled out everyone's schedule. UK has the toughest schedule left in college basketball.
Yeah, that's all
But-
right. We're good.
And they
We're
have
ready- we're
and
ready
because
for it.
of how good the SEC is supposed to be.
Yeah.
They have like a
SEC is
14.
incredible.
They have a 14% chance to win the conference, and I'm just like,
How's that so low?
And I'm
There's
like,
no way.
I want them to keep going.
I guess Auburn or
show them
pronounced.
up. Oh yeah, Auburn,
Alabama.
Florida's
Yeah, Florida's
lights
tough.
out now.
We'll beat them twice.
I'm hoping.
Sorry, Jason.
Yes.
So my prediction. So you think we're going to win? We're going to win by 4, 5, 6, 28.
Gosh, they've not had a close game. Except for Duke. I think it's going to be if they're in the 80s, we are usually in 90s, 100s. I think they've not had a game where an opponent scored more than 75. I think it was Georgia State. I think it was the most that
76
76 was. I think they might beat that. I know it might be like 92-85 or something like that.
I am going on record saying this is Jackson Robinson's breakout game. I think he's going to go for 25, and we're going to win by 6.
Okay.
So next week, we've got the crazy rivalry of UK Louisville, so it'll be fun to do this again next week to predict that. So I'm Bill.
I'm Chase.
And this is Wildcat Chat.